It's movie time with John DeSando and his friends online. So everything is gonna be just fine. From the top down to the bottom. He's gonna let you know if you should stay home or if you should go. Might even yell if it's a spectacle. From San Francisco to Long Island. 'Cause nothing's better than a motion video.
It's Movie Time. It's produced and hosted by John DeSando. Listen to broadcast shows Fridays at 4:01 and 8:01 p.m. Read reviews and listen to shows online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando,
And I'm G Kline.
and this is It's Movie Time. Well, if you think I can handle the House of Jubilee by myself, you're crazy. Because who's the wackiest guy I know, a fanatic about Japanese anime, and particularly Hayao Miyazaki? It's G Kline.
Well, one of the great things about doing this show is we can bring to people's attention things that they might otherwise miss. Now, I know that a lot of our CBE listeners out there are very familiar with the work of Studio Ghibli and Hayao Miyazaki. We're talking about movies like Spirited Away, Kiki's Delivery Service, Princess Mononoke. Probably a lot of you out there have these Blu-rays already on your shelf and you watch them till you've worn them out. But we also know there's a few of you out there who have never heard or seen a Miyazaki movie.
And rightfully so.
And I'm envious of you, I really am, because you have never, it's like never having heard a John Williams soundtrack, or never having seen a Norman Rockwell painting. You are so much to look forward to. And with Miyazaki's career winding down, as I said, I'm really envious of you, because you have this collection of amazing movies to see. Well, most of the major movie theater chains every year show something called the Studio Ghibli Festival. And they present a number of Studio Ghibli films throughout the year. And this weekend, we decided to bring this to your attention because this weekend is the showing of Howl's Moving Castle.
All right, let me repeat that title, Howl's Moving Castle. Believe me, the film is as eccentric as the title. and so that's the reason for our doing this. But actually, we could be in Cinema Classics.
Very easily.
You know, this could be
Very
that show.
easily,
But
yes.
we're doing it because it is being re-released. I think I saw it again. Well, I did it online.
Yeah, it's going to be playing in most of the major movie theaters on Sunday in the dubbed version, and then I believe also on Tuesday in the original Japanese.
Yeah.
But do contact your theater, check to make sure they're going to be showing it. It shouldn't be hard to find. Most of the major movie chains around Columbus are going to be showing it.
Look, if for nothing else, you want to hear Christian Bale play, voice the hero.
The cast of any Studio Ghibli movie is always first rate because John Lasseter and Peter Docter of
They're
Pixar,
voice coaches.
they discovered Miyazaki way back in the 90s and were just amazed at his work and let it go on to have a lot of influence on the work of Disney.
Well, yeah, look at me. I'm thrilled because we have Billy Crystal going over the top.
Billy Crystal,
Yeah.
probably my favorite voice dubbing of any actor in any Studio
Boy,
Ghibli movie.
Yeah, I knew his voice right away.
He plays the demon Calcifer, and it is the most wonderful, humorous voice performance in any Miyazaki movie. It's very different from what was in the original Japanese version.
And then my heart stopped because Lauren Bacall.
Lauren
is also a
Bacall
voice.
plays the Witch of the East, the Witch of the West,
Yes.
and Gene Simmons, the Gene Simmons, not the Kiss Gene Simmons, but the Gene Simmons
Yes.
of World War II movies,
Oh, yeah.
plays the voice of older Sophie.
Yes.
So the voice casting, and again, Lasseter, when he discovered Miyazaki, he decided these films deserve an A-list cast. So every one of the Studio Ghibli films features voice actors who are strictly A-list. They're the best that they could get. This is not your typical anime with just unknown voices. This is all very beautifully done, and a lot of this was done with arrangements with Disney.
Well, I can't wait for our podcast, which is Backtalk.
Yeah.
Because then we can talk more about Miyazaki.
We'll be able to talk about
Yeah.
the background of Howl's, Diane Wynne Jones, the British young adult
Yeah.
author who wrote the original stories. We'll cover that in the podcast.
Right now, we're looking at Howl's Moving Castle. And I want to throw in something here before we get right to the film. Roger Ebert said, suggested that Miyazaki may be the best animation filmmaker in history.
It's
You're
impossible.
talking Walt
Yeah.
Disney, everybody else.
It is impossible to overplay Miyazaki. He is held in the same esteem within the motion picture industry as Stanley Kubrick. I mean, you just don't get any higher. He is, when his name is mentioned, there's a reverence to it, because his work consistently is absolutely amazing.
All right, so it's Howl's, like all his other films, are filled with imagination.
Yes.
So exotic. This moving castle is like one big dinosaur with chicken legs.
Miyazaki did this movie as a anti-war theme film, and this is the reason why I picked this one among all the movies in the Ghibli Festival this year to talk about, because this is probably the one that Western audiences are going to have the easiest time connecting with. Most of his films are set in Japan. Most of his main characters are girls who are between the ages of about 11 and 13.
We got one who's 18, Sophia.
Well, in this one, because it's based on this novel by
Yeah.
Diane Wynne Jones, the characters are all very Western. It's set somewhere in Europe. It's set around the early 1900s, and it's set in a universe that people have said probably influenced Harry Potter. So if you're a Harry Potter fan, you really should see Howl's Moving Castle to see where Harry Potter came from. This is a world where magic and technology both exist simultaneously, and a very small number of people have magical abilities, but magic is not unknown in this world. And we see Howl as a top-ranked warlock. The Witch of the West is a witch. Most of the characters that we see, and even Sophie, has some magical abilities.
Sure. And the good thing is when you go, you're going to catch a little bit of Wizard of Oz.
A little bit of the Wizard of Oz in this as well.
Yeah. So you see how he can take the Western tradition, and with his witches and so on, he can blend the cultures. This is the beautiful thing about it. And he doesn't care anyway what we think.
And these are probably his most complicated characters. Sophie is a flawed character. She starts out somewhat introverted, but very proud. We meet Howl, who is a very flawed character. He's very, very self-centered.
He's a
very selfish.
young wizard.
He's a very vain young wizard.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
And fortunately, Miyazaki toned him down from the original book. But yeah, he is a very self-centered individual who has to find a way to become more compassionate. And this is the theme of this film, is anti-war and compassion. Miyazaki created this movie in response to the 2003 invasion of Iraq. He was very strongly against that, and he wanted to do a strong anti-war film. And then he was given the book, Howl's Moving Castle, and found that theme in the book and made it the theme of the movie.
Well, frequently Miyazaki deals with curses.
Oh, yes.
And he likes that because you can overcome them. That's what he sees in it. You know, why have so many curses? Well, because then you can overcome that curse and really be heroic. In this case, our little Sophie is cursed to be an old woman.
And what happens to Sophie when she becomes an old woman is, and this is very different from most cinema, she becomes freed to speak her mind. She becomes free to be the person she wants to be, because when she's a younger girl, she is trying to conform, she's trying to fit into social expectations, but the minute she gets this curse and turns into about an 80-year-old woman, she doesn't care anymore. She can speak her mind, and she is empowered, and so rarely do we see senior citizens, especially elderly women, empowered in movies.
Yeah, and she gets a job, or she gives herself a job at the castle, cleaning the castle.
She takes a job at the castle. Nobody dares stand in her way.
This castle is so freakingly exotic. If you open a door, you could be in a completely different world.
Yes, and it's run by Billy Crystal as Calcifer the fire demon.
You have to listen to him.
Oh my gosh.
That is the one voice that you will recognize.
He is so good in this.
Yeah.
I mean, he steals his scenes in this movie.
It's like a ball of fire.
Yeah, he's this little ball of fire sitting in a fireplace, and he just...
Well, he supplies the energy for the castle.
They let him basically improv the way that Robin Williams did in Aladdin, and he just steals the show. He's absolutely wonderful. Very different from other Miyazaki movies where the voice acting is very scripted. He is just doing his thing.
Yeah. And I'm also interested in the fact that we also have a witch, that Wicked Witch.
Yeah, we have the Wicked Witch, voiced, as you said, by Lauren Bacall.
Who actually gives Sophie the curse.
Gives Sophie
Right?
the
Just out of
curse.
spite of Sophie.
But then, as the movie progresses, when Sophie learns who she is, and then when the witch's power is stolen from her, Sophie starts caring for her. Even though she was the one that cursed her, Sophie shows compassion by caring for the witch when her power has been stripped away.
But Ken, it is almost impossible not to be, how shall I say, not to be not to be overwhelmed by the animation.
The visuals.
By the visuals are just
Miyazaki created, every one of his movies is fantastic, but he created 3 movies that were masterpieces. And these are, in my opinion, Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, and Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah.
Any one of these 3 is Disney has never touched the quality of animation that you see in those movies.
There are moments when I actually think it's three-dimensional, and there are other moments when I think it's just like a painting. He has such variety of style, and he doesn't care what we think.
He doesn't.
No,
He throws convention away.
He's saying, well, Miyazaki, it doesn't make sense. He says, I don't care.
Often in animation, they'll start with a very free-form, out-of-focus shape and then focus in and bring detail. Miyazaki does the opposite. He shows you the first scene very, very detailed, and then he begins to blur and take the scene out of focus.
All right, G Kline. It is clear to me that our audience needs to go to our podcast called Back Talk if they want to hear more about your blather concerning Japanese anime, otherwise known as manga. It's from manga.
From manga.
Manga.
But not this one.
From
This
manga.
one came from young adult novels by Diane Wynne Jones. And we'll talk a little bit about Diane Wynne Jones.
What's your recommendation?
This is an opportunity to see the movie in the theater. If you have never seen a Miyazaki movie before, grab your kids, grab your grandparents, grab everybody that you can, go to the theater on Sunday and see the dubbed version of this movie. You will come away transformed. It's a life-changing experience.
And if you see it online, you can have the subscript translated.
You can also,
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
also have it with subtitles.
It's movie time with John DeSando and his friends online. So everything is gonna be just fine. From the top down to the bottom. He's gonna let you know